Hey guys, GageGrizzly here, and we are back with another video. Today we're on New World. I have been playing this game the last 2 months. I came back. It's been a lot of fun. They're making some great improvements, and I want to release some new guides out for all the new and returning players. I know there's a lot of people coming in, and they're either unfamiliar with a lot of things that are happening as far as, you know, like just basic gameplay, tanking, healing, DPS, the best things to do all that stuff with. So I want to give you guys updated guides on all that stuff, so let's go ahead and get started on the best tanking guide. Alright guys, when it comes to tanking, I'm going to go over the weapons first. So your main weapon is going to be the sword and shield. Your second weapon, it's honestly up to you, but if you're a beginner, I recommend sticking with either the warhammer or the hatchet, and on top of that, really the warhammer at best. Let's go over the sword and shield. There's a lot of builds out there, a lot of different talent trees, a lot of ways people like to tank. This is going to be the best and most efficient way to tank, in my personal opinion. So my idea behind this build was, how do I get the most survivability while also outputting the most damage and giving my team some buffs at the same time? So I came up with this, and this has been probably just honestly the best tank build out there for me, because it allows me to do all those things I just mentioned. Let's get right into it, guys. Real quick, I want to mention something with defensive formation. While it looks like a great skill, I highly recommend you stay away from it, because I feel like it promotes bad tanking habits, and for a beginner I just don't recommend it. A lot of people just sit out there with their shield up, and you don't want to do that. You want to constantly put in damage as a tank. If you're not putting in damage as a tank, then you're going to easily lose aggro, with especially a build like this. So there's another YouTuber by the name of Xecil, Xecil. I don't believe he posts content anymore, but he still has a fantastic tanking video up, and that's more for a highly defensive tank, like lots of health, lots of constitution, and he goes very in depth into it. And while it is a fantastic video, if this is something that is not for you, which that's totally okay if it's not, I'll actually link that video for you guys to go watch over on his channel, because that's also a very beginner friendly tank build. But if you don't like high health tanking, which I personally don't, I don't think it's needed, you can use something like this, which I have here. And I do think this is a better build than what he's got, but his build also makes a lot of sense and is good for beginners as well. So I don't recommend this skill though, because I feel like it promotes bad tanking habits. Let's get into my build though. So your main taunting ability is going to be Defiant Stance. So taunting is basically letting the enemies be like, hey, I'm over here, focus me. But that doesn't last forever. If you don't output damage as a tank, and you're not constantly taunting, which with this build you're not going to be spamming taunt like you would with Xecil's build, and you'll hear me reference that multiple times throughout the video. His build focuses on constantly taunting, while my build focuses on putting up a taunt and then doing damage. So Defiant Stance is going to be like your first big taunt. It's just going to be an AoE taunt, be like, hey, everybody focus me, basically. It's going to reduce incoming damage as well for 30%, but I take this skill, which increases it to 50%, if you're above 50% health, which is when you should be activating it anyway. Go ahead and read these if you want to pause the video. They're just going to be some basic passives to take as a tank. If you don't know what fortify means increasing resistance, just being a little more tanky, having more survivability. So fortify is always good. So shield rush. When it comes to shield rush, the actual skill itself isn't important. I'll show you guys on my shield. I take fortifying shield rush, which I'll show you guys later what it actually does. It's going to give you a lot more fortify, so that's why I take shield rush. It's an awesome skill because it has a fantastic passive. Alright guys, when we go to the Swordmaster side, again, I'm just going to hover over these. If you don't know what Empower does, it increases your damage. And then the slow on some of these passives are going to be easier for you to hold aggro, because the enemies will be a lot slower. So all these are really good passives to have, and honestly I just take some of them because I want to get down to the final skill here, which is leadership. but I'll talk about that in a second. So Leaping Strike's also a good skill because not only does it do damage, but you can also cover distance with it. If you need to, you know, hop on an enemy that's on the healer or something, this is fantastic. And again, I'm just kind of taking these so I can get down to Leadership. Leadership is going to be a fantastic skill because it provides 10%, including yourself, to all members of the team. So it's going to be a lot of extra damage coming out from the group because you have the skill. I don't take this because I don't think you need it, and you'll see why later on because of my sword. But this is going to be the tanking build that I feel like is going to be the best overall build for damage, for survivability, and for overall enhancement of your team through Leadership. So this is going to be the Warhammer tree. Shockwave is going to be your main skill to hold aggro. It also provides a stun, so it's going to be really good. And then again, I'm just going to go over some of these passives to take. They're really good. If you guys need further explanation on any of the passives, please let me know. But these are pretty self-explanatory. Between these two, so this one and this passive right here, you're going to be increasing your cooldowns a lot, so that's going to help you keep up the aggro with Shockwave, because I can pretty much spam this most of the time, and also keep the enemy stunned. So you're going to be doing a lot of damage, you're going to be stunning, and you're going to be holding aggro a lot with this build. So Path of Destiny is going to be great for kind of, you know, pulling the mobs off that are from the side, you know, so you don't have to charge them. You're just basically bringing them to you. It also increases or decreases your cooldowns by 5% for each enemy. So that's, again, increasing your cooldowns. Great for putting up Shockwave again. And then on the Juggernaut side, I know some people that like to DPS tank with Mighty Gavel, sorry, but I don't recommend it. I still like to, you know, be a tank, and I think Wrecking Ball does a better job of that. So it's going to flatten the enemies down and get you Fortify. Again, 20% damage reduction, fantastic. And then, you know, it provides that stun. And I'm just going to go over these passives for you guys. Empower is great. And then Grit, for you don't necessarily need Grit for your heavy attacks because you're going to have a Grit because you're going to be at 300 strength, but 12% damage I'm not going to complain about. This passive is fantastic because you're going to be taking damage as a tank. So when, you know, you put up a heavy attack with your Warhammer and you take damage, you're going to be doing that 35% damage. Now say you do a heavy attack, you get 20% empower, and then you also get hit, and then you do another heavy attack because you already have that 4-second empower. You're going to get 55% weapon damage, which is insane as a tank. And so you're going to be at 300 strength, you're going to be doing a ton of damage. So this is the Warhammer tree. And then if you guys really want, this is more of a DPS build right here for the hatchet. But the two skills you want are Rending Throw and Infected Throw, and then also Berserk for your tanking side. If you guys want a specific guide on that, let me know. I honestly don't recommend the hatchet for beginners, but the hatchet is also decent for aggro. Going on to my attributes real quick, guys. I'm going to take 300 strength and 200 plus con. The reason I take 300 strength is because I enjoy doing damage as a tank, and also holding aggro is easier for me doing damage because the more damage you do, the easier it is for you to hold aggro. So all these attributes here are going to help with you doing that damage. I'm just going to kind of go through them for you, and then the last one, Grit here. So enemy, you're not going to get stunned when you're doing your heavy and light attacks, which is very helpful as a tank. I also don't think you need 300 con. It doesn't help you that much. So I take 200 con, which is going to get you all the way up to this one, which increases your physical armor, which is great. So I highly recommend getting at least 200 con, but I'm able to do all M10 content with this build. So between, you know, the Fortify with the Shield Rush and the Fortify with all the hammer abilities, like, you really don't need more health than that. Alright guys, go into the build real quick. We're going to start with the weapons, and I'll explain the gear and how to kind of make it easier for you. So the number one skill you want on your sword is going to be Refreshing Move. That's going to get you faster cooldowns on all your skills. It's going to help you keep that aggro better because, you know, you're constantly taunting. The Refreshing Move, without a doubt, you want on your sword. Thwarting Strikes is great because I'm already having Grit, so it helps me out. I do a little more damage, so I like that. This hammer, you can honestly use any type of hammer as long as you know you slot a carnelian in it. I could honestly be using a better hammer, but this hammer works just fine for me. It gives me a little bit of fortify on crit, so again, I'm just a little more tanky, and then I got the crit chance and crit damage to do a little more damage. I could use something else like the one skill where you do more damage on a heavy attack. That'd be great too, but this just I feel like helps for overall DPS, and yeah, I could get a better hammer, but this one works just fine for me. When it comes to your shield, the #1 skill you want is Fortifying Shield Rush. That's the only reason we take Shield Rush. You don't need any of the other passives on Shield Rush, but Fortifying Shield Rush is going to give you literally all the survivability you need. Paired that with a ward potion, you're literally unkillable for that amount of time. But Fortifying Shield Rush, the other skills don't really matter. I have ward on here, which is great. But Fortifying Shield Rush, without a doubt, you can buy one for like 5k on the market. So get one with Fortifying Shield Rush. That's going to make your life a lot easier. Fortifying Shield Rush is the skill I have on the right side. So you're just going to go into an enemy, and then when you hit the enemy, you're going to get that passive for more Fortify. So my potions slot, I'm going to go over real quick. For the first one, you want to have a ward potion. Whatever, expedition you're doing, if it's ancient wards, you want to have ancient ward potions, Lost, War, Angry Earth, whatever it may be. Those are going to kind of help bridge the gap. If you don't have ward gear, it's going to really help you, and 2, it's just going to give you more survivability. So if you're pulling like a big stack or something, or you're going to be taking a lot of damage, ward potions are great. Especially, I like to use the Warhammer as a tank, so it helps me out too. So a lot of you are probably not going to have full ward gear, which is fine. When it comes to doing mutated dungeons, I recommend at minimum 3 pieces of ward gear. It's going to make your life so much easier. As a tank, it doesn't really matter which pieces because you're going to be going all heavy. But I would recommend keeping it simple. Do like the head, chest, and the legs. Just go on to the trading post and type in, if you're doing Laz, Ancient Ward, if you're doing Genesis, Angry Earth, if you're doing, Tempest, Corrupted Ward, whatever it may be. I actually strongly suggest doing Corrupted first because there's 3 Corrupted dungeons. So I highly recommend you get the Corrupted Ward first. That's going to help you in the long run. So once you get the Corrupted Ward gear, 3 pieces, the other 2 you want to get your perks. So if you're running, let's say, honestly, as a tank, you don't need any more perks than what you already have. I personally don't run any more perks. I run full ward for tank. But if you're running like DPS healer, you're going to want other perks there, and you guys will see that in the future videos. But honestly, for tank, you don't need any other perks other than Fortifying Shield Rush. So I have best in slot, amulet ring and earring here. So you guys, honestly, you can just get divine and health. So this one drops from depths, but you can just get divine and health. Those are both great things to have for a tank. The smooth bone ring you can actually get very easily from Lazarus Instrumentality. This one is super easy to get. So honestly, I would just go farm this one. Super easy to get. There's really nothing better than this. Doom's Chancellor ring. Forgot where this drops. I think it drops in Genesis, but if you guys need to know where anything drops, just look on New World Database. I'll leave a link down in the description below. You guys can see where I get all my stuff. But this one's really good because I was regenerating, and you gain 0.49% health back every second. So that's fantastic for tanking. This is going to be my overall tank build. So you definitely want to use your consumables, use your food. Definitely use weak honing stones. Those are super cheap, and I just kind of throw those on when I do when I tank in M10s and stuff. You can use the rabbit food. That's going to give you 40 con. I just use this because it just gives me enough, and it's super cheap on the market. So like I said, you want to constantly be popping food. It's going to give you more regeneration. Common regen potions are super cheap, and you can constantly pop those, and then you got your health pots if anything. But overall, this is going to be the best tank build, and you guys will see that as I post expedition runs. And if you have any other questions, please let me know. I'd be happy to help you out. Alright guys, before we go, I'm going to give you a quick rotation. So whenever you're going and pulling a lot of mobs, you just basically want to run through them. And then once you have gathered them all, sometimes I like to just pull out my hammer shockwave first, just to stun them all, and then I defiant stance. That kind of just helps, you know, kind of group all the enemies so your DPS can go ahead and start doing damage. Your heal can get a sacred down. So that's what I like to do. Right after that, I will go into a fortifying shield rush. That's going to give you all the fortify you will ever need. So that's between, I had my shield, so I blocked an attack and I went for fortifying shield rush. So right there, I just got 10% fortify. And then again, it just refreshes, 10% fortify, 10% fortify. It doesn't stack, but it refreshes. And then when you go to your fortifying shield rush, you're going to get 33%, which you saw earlier from the perk there. But then, you know, if I'm, you know, have an enemy off to the side that I just need to grab, I'll go ahead and Leeching Path of Destiny. And then they come toward me, shockwave, that's going to pull aggro. Whenever you see those little lightning bolts, that means you have pulled aggro. And then when you see the bar lit up like this, it's nice and bright red, that means you're currently holding aggro and you have aggro. Let's kill this wolf real quick. And then when you see the bar like that and it's not bright red, that means you do not have aggro. So you need to immediately grab aggro, because usually the enemy will either go to your healer or DPS. So make sure you immediately grab aggro. Again, you can do that with shockwave. See the bar lit up, that means now I have aggro. Or you can do that with defiant stance. And then as you DPS with your sword and your shield, since I have refreshing move, you guys can see there that the counter or the cooldown goes by faster. That's why, like, when you have a clump of enemies, that's why I usually shockwave, defiant stance, shield rush, so I'm now super tanky, and then I just go whack away with my sword, because that way I can defiant stance again if I need to. So in dungeons like Barnacles and Black Powder, that first area, that not the first area but the second area right after that, there's a huge clump of mobs, so I'll go shockwave into defiant stance and then into a shield rush, so it looks a little something like this. So I'll grab all the enemies, I'll go shockwave, defiant stance to grab aggro, shield rush, and then I'll just start smacking away with my sword to get my defiant stance back up. So it just depends on what, you know, situation you're in. Usually, like in Lazarus, you guys will see in an upcoming video, I usually just spam my hammer between shockwave and then mighty gavel, and then I'll just like get my cooldowns with my light and heavy attacks, and you guys will see that in that video. But that's a little quick tanking guide as far as rotations goes. If you guys want to see more or have any more questions on that, please let me know. Alright guys, that is going to be it for today's video. If you have any feedback, I would absolutely love to hear it to make my videos better for you in the future. If you have any other questions or comments, please leave it down in the comment section below, and I will read every single comment. But that's it for today, guys. Please leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.